Hello, 6th grade, and welcome to Wacky Wednesday. I hope you're feeling a little wacky today with me. We have been having a great time at Virtual Spirit Week. We've not let this quarantine dampen our spirits at all. We've still been having such a great time. So proud of all of your costumes for Taco Tuesday. I saw Matthew online, had a very cool Taco Bell shirt on. Several of you that did great on your costumes, so I hope you're enjoying it. And today we're going to have a pretty fast day at school. We have a lot of review today. It kind of all fell on one day, so I'm going to let you get busy on that soon. But just wanted to tell you again that I'm missing all of you, and when I get silly all by myself, it's just not as fun. I wish I could have Wacky Wednesday with you today. So let's go ahead and start our day for Wacky Wednesday in prayer. That's probably the best way to start a Wacky Wednesday. The last 2 days I got so excited about my videos that I forgot to have prayer for our day. So let's bow our heads. Dear Jesus, I love you and I thank you, Lord, for this opportunity of fun that you've given us, Lord. I thank you that you love laughter and that you love silliness. And most of all, Lord, you love for us to be happy, and I'm thankful for that. Lord, I pray that my students will have a fun, Wacky Wednesday. I'm so thankful that tonight we get to go back to the house of the Lord that we've been missing so much and be together with our brothers and sisters, although we're going to be safe and obey all of the rules for social distancing. Lord, I pray today that you will be with Natalie's family, Lord. I pray, dear God, that you will continue to keep your hand upon them in the situations that they've asked prayer for. Lord, I pray that you will touch Sister Maury today, Lord. I'm coming before you now, asking for a healing upon her body. I ask that you will touch each and every one of my students, Lord. Let your presence be with us today. Help us to do our best in all of our schoolwork, in all of our attitudes, in all of our relationships with our families, Lord. Help us to be what you want us to be. I love you, Jesus, and I thank you for everything you've done for us. In Jesus' name, amen. I hope you enjoy our next Wacky Wednesday video, so get up and get some wiggles out before we start math, and I will see you after our Wacky Wednesday wiggles in math.
Repeat after me. Repeat after me. Oh, a milkshake. Oh, a milkshake. A sticky, sticky waffle. A sticky, sticky waffle. A mozzarella pizza. A mozzarella pizza. All the eggs are broken. All the eggs are broken. That was really nothing. That was really nothing. We could do it British. We could do it British. Oh, a milkshake. A sticky, sticky waffle. A sticky, sticky waffle. A mozzarella pizza. A mozzarella pizza. All the eggs are broken.
Your syllabus today says to go to page 255. Going to do some more review. I know the past couple of days we've really been focusing on algebra. However, it's super duper 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 important that you get this down in your brain, especially before we move on to 7th grade. So I really want us just to keep working at it. The more we work at something, the more that we get in the habit of doing it correctly. As I was grading some of your math papers yesterday, don't forget to show me your work. Some of you are just putting the answers. I need to see those steps, please. Some of you are getting bored with distance learning, which I totally get, but you are filling in random answers. Please don't do that for me. I need to see that brain work into its full capacity, even during distance learning. So try your hardest at this. We just have a few more days of this. And then it's summer, and I've got my mind already on summer, so I know you do too. But we've got to pull it together, work our hardest. And I really appreciate those of you that are working your hardest. Some of you are blowing it out of the water, and every time I grade your papers, I'm like, yes, this is awesome. So proud of you guys that are trying so hard. You know, I'm just wanting this to be a little bit bigger. Big hair, don't care. There we go, that's a little bigger. Okay, math. Page 255 on your syllabus, it says to do number 1, all, A, B, C, D, and number 2, all. Let's talk about number 1 very quickly. I have put my 3 main steps for solving equations on the board. I just want to talk through them. If you want to go ahead and start working, get out a clean sheet of notebook paper, put page 255 at the top along with your name and math, because it's a huge help to me. Number 1, do what you know. If you know how to add what they're showing, if you know how to subtract what they're showing, multiply or divide, do that first. Rewrite your problem. Your next step is to get your letter alone. And to get your letter alone, you do the opposite of whatever they're doing to your letter. For example, on number 1, x divided by 5. To get that x by itself, you're going to do the opposite of division, which is what, everybody? Multiplication. What are you going to multiply by? Well, since they're dividing by 5, you're going to multiply by 5. That's step 2. Step 3, we've got to balance out our problem. Do the same thing to both sides so you have a good even weight on that equation scale. Number 1, A, B, C, and D. Let me look at them really quickly. B does not have parentheses, but it does have exponents. Let me give you a quick hint. On B, 3 squared, it is not 6. 3 squared is not 6. Some of you are still doing that. Think about what that answer is going to be. C, don't forget where it says 6B, if there's not a sign between them, what are you going to do? You automatically know now in algebra to multiply. And D, let's take a look at that. I think you'll be fine with D. Just don't forget that fraction bar actually means what? And I hope I heard somebody yell out divide. Let's go down and look at number 2. Number 2, A, B, C, and D. You're going to do those on your own as well. Number 2 is your order of operations, PEMDAS. Put that on your paper if it will help you. Parentheses, exponents, multiplication, division, addition, subtraction. Don't forget, our multiplication and division are related. So you just go left to right, whichever's first. You might multiply first, you might divide first, but once you get to that step, you work left to right. After you do that, if you have any addition or subtraction, again, subtraction might be first, addition might be first, but you just work left to right. I love algebra. I love the beginning of algebra. I'm not too crazy about it when it gets really in depth, but I do like, this is considered a pre-algebra, and I like it. So I think you're going to do great on that. Also, you have a worksheet to do today. Easy peasy worksheet. 4 problems, A, B, C, and D. You will notice they've already put your X on the line for you. Your worksheet should look like this. Already put your X on the line, so you're just solving for X on each one of those. And they're kind of like nice, easy 1-step, 2-step algebra problems. So that's some easy points for you to earn there. And we're going to move right on into language for today. Let me erase my board. I don't think I'm going to be writing anything up. But in language today, you should have a worksheet also, worksheet 1 and 2. I know I had another number on your syllabus, number 3. So if for some reason I did not mark off that number 3 on your syllabus, let me double check before I keep talking here. If I did not mark off worksheet 3, I'm sorry, then do that because I didn't put it in there. It didn't photocopy well on the photocopy machine, and it was you couldn't read it, so I didn't even send it. So you only have adverb worksheet for language. I'm going to start again here. I'm rambling. 1 and 2. Worksheet 1. Let's read those directions together. An adverb is a word that describes an action word. Comparative adverbs usually use more as an ending or ER. We talked about that in depth yesterday. Superlative adverbs usually use most as an ending or EST. These adverbs are used to compare one item to another or one to many more. 3 or more is the wording I like to use. Write the correct form of each verb for the sentences below. Let me do number 1 with you. Patty worked blank than any other actor in the play. Now, if we have a play, we pretty much know we're not going to have just 2 actors, right? So we're going to have most likely 3 or more. So in this instance of 3 or more, we're changing the adverb hard to what? Patty worked hardest, our superlative form. I'm sorry. Than any other actor in the play. Let me rephrase that. Ooh. Okay, sorry. I'm wrong. I will admit it. I apologize for being wrong. They are comparing Patty as one person to all the actors in the play here. I'm sorry, I did not notice that. So really they're comparing Patty and the actors as a whole. So how many things do you have if they're comparing Patty and the actors as a whole? Patty worked harder than any other actor in the play. Ew. That one, it's harder sounds correct, but to actually work it out in your mind, you have to talk yourself through it. So go ahead. Hopefully there won't be any more of those. Let me look over. I think that's the only one that you kind of have to talk yourself through that one. Good. You should do fine with 2 through 10. So go ahead and fill that out. Put this in your folder to send to me on Friday. Your other worksheet did not come out very nice at all on the copy machine. So let me talk you through it a little bit. It says I can write with adverbs. Number 1, you're going to choose each one of these and write a sentence for it. So number 1, I'll do it with you. This is really easy. Really easy. Number 1, let's do the girl block first, and then let's do the boy in his bed, or man in his bed. Honestly, I can't even read what that says. We'll just call him a man. And then we have a woman that's sneezing. So for number 1, and it doesn't matter if you get them in mixed up order. The girl whispers how? The girl whispers softly. That's all you're doing on number 1. You're taking the picture of the girl, putting in your verb, and putting in your adverb. But here's what I'm looking for, that some of you, and I'm not going to name names, are still not using capital letters on your proper nouns. Some of you are still not using capital letters at the beginning of your sentences. Now, 6th grade, let your teacher, your wacky teacher, get on to you a little bit. It is time that every time you write a sentence, it starts with a capital letter. And what else is it time for? Every time you write a sentence that you put punctuation at the end. So basically that's what I'm looking for on these 3 sentences. So please be careful and do that for me. If you forget punctuation, I might have to be mean and ugly on Wacky Wednesday and send it back home to you to redo. And I don't want to do that, but I might. So go ahead and do number 2 and 3 on your own. Watch your punctuation. Wow, that was a super easy worksheet. I didn't realize how easy that was. and you are done with language today. Once you finish those worksheets, there is a place for your name on both of those. So I should not have to be putting names on for anyone for the adverb worksheets. And reading today, wow, we are going boom, boom, boom on this Wacky Wednesday. One reason why I wanted to go kind of quickly today is because we have church tonight. Hooray! So some of you that are sleeping all morning long, which is fine, hey, no problem with that. And working in the afternoon, I wanted you to be able to get done pretty quickly with it being a church day. Reading, read and think number 40. Do your best on those, please. I'd love to see it all 100% on those. And in health today, we are going to do, let's see, we'll do health first. We might have some highlights, so I'm going to grab my health book, and I want you to get yours and grab your highlighter as well. Go ahead and get your history book too, because we'll just go straight into history after health. I'll see you in health. Putting up 6th grade in your health books to page 100, but I might go a little beyond that. Page 97. Central nervous system consists of the brain and the spinal cord. I believe we highlighted that. Oh yes, we did reading together yesterday, so you're caught up on your highlights there. So we're opening up to page 100. You should have done your worksheet from yesterday and have that in your folder for me as well. So we're picking up to, oh, Caitlin Hannah. Yesterday you sent me a text and asked me if you had to do the quick checkup on page 100, I think. I might have said yes, and I did not need to say that. I'm so sorry if you went ahead and did that. But if you did, go ahead and send it to me and I'll give you credit for it. So we're picking up on page 100, short-term memory. Like a computer, your brain has a memory for storing information that you can use later. I know we've compared our brains to computers many times before, but seriously, they're very similar. When you learn something new, it starts out in your short-term memory, where information is stored for a short time. Look at this telephone number. Hope everybody's looking. 466-9528. Wow. 466-9528. Now, cover the number with your hand and write the number here. Did you remember it? I did. I didn't write it, but I said it quietly in my computer brain. I did remember it. However, let me tell you something. As you get older, your short-term memory does not work as well. I'm not kidding. I mean, it's crazy how much I forget now that I've gotten older. And it's like somebody can, like Mari, for example, can send me a text and say, I emailed my current event to your email, and I'm like, oh yeah, now I remember that. Things go in one ear and out the other, I guess. I don't know. But so keep that short-term memory strong as you get older. Don't be like your teacher. Long-term memory. If you are interested in what you are trying to learn, your cerebrum is more alert and ready for action. New information, however, will be forgotten quickly unless you store it in your long-term memory. Repeating the information orally, writing the information, or associating the information with something you already know helps you make the information part of your long-term memory. Now, I'm going to have to start preaching here when I read that. Why do you think we say, spell, say in spelling? Because you're speaking it. It's going into your long-term memory. Why do you think we write our spelling words? Two things that we do. It's not so that I can torture you and make you bored and all that good stuff. No, it's to get it locked into your your long-term memory. Why do you think sometimes I say, give me your spelling word in a sentence. Give me an example of one of your siblings in a sentence. Why do you think I do that? Using it in a sentence helps it stay in your long-term memory. Why do you think you do test your understanding with your vocab words. It locks it into your long-term memory. Why do you think sometimes we do absolutely silly random things with our spelling words, like shaving creams, or draw a picture of it? Because it gets locked in our long-term memory. Do you see how those things can help you? That's why you want to do them. Now, without looking back, try to remember the telephone number mentioned earlier. Was the memory stored in your short term or long term? Honestly, I can't remember it at all. I shouldn't say that. I'm going to guess the first three numbers might have been 466. Am I correct? So I can't remember the last four. I can't even tell you what numbers are there. So I definitely put it in my short-term memory. Did any of you get it in your long-term memory? I'm going to look back now. 466. I was correct on the first three. So, but the last four, 9528, I couldn't have told you that if somebody was holding a shotgun to my head. So I definitely store things in my short-term memory, and they go out very quickly. But so let's work on getting those things, especially in school, that we need in our long-term memory. Do a couple different activities like writing, speaking, reading them. It helps lock it in there. Moving on. I'm done preaching now. Healthful habits. Train yourself. Oh, same thing I've been saying. Train yourself to learn quickly and to remember accurately. Attend school regularly. Oh, I love that one. Don't miss a lot of school unless you're in quarantine, and then come to YouTube and find me. Concentrate on what you read and hear. I probably drive you guys crazy in class when I'm constantly saying, are you focusing? Look at your book. Look at your book. Please look at your book. Why do you think I tell you that? Because I want you to focus. If you are focused, you're retaining that information. Review the material to be learned. When I'm throwing out candy to you in history and science with review questions, I'm wanting to trigger that long-term memory. Have a regular time for doing homework. I know some of you do. If you have homework in class, you go home and do that at a certain time in the afternoon. Oh boy, here's the hard one. Control your thoughts. You know what? Our brains are such amazing things that we can be working a math problem and thinking about going outside and playing when we're done with math, and thinking about the new game that we want to start playing on Xbox, and thinking about getting a snack, and thinking about what we're going to wear to school tomorrow, and thinking about how we're mad at our brother all at the same time. That's because our brains are such amazing things. However, it is your responsibility here on this Wacky Wednesday to get control of those thoughts and think, all right, I'm going to play my Xbox, I'm going to get a snack, but right now I'm going to focus on this math problem. Does that make sense? I hope so. Do you remember the three main parts of the brain? I'm at the top of the second column. How can you make this information part of your long-term memory? And if we were together, do you know what I would do? I would have you write them down. I would have you look at your neighbor and tell your neighbor the three main parts of the brain. So if you have a sibling or a parent in the room and you want to do that, you can. You don't have to. I might even have you draw a picture of them to store them in your long-term memory. Sadly, we are not together. So instead, you're going to do the quick checkup on page. Oh, no, we're not. Sorry. This is the one I messed up for Caitlin Hannah. We're not doing that quick checkup. We're going to keep on reading. See how if I don't store things in my long-term memory, I'm telling you, I struggle with it. Your muscle coordinator. The cerebellum is located at the back of the head, below the cerebrum. Highlight this. The job of the cerebellum is to help you keep your balance and coordinate your movements. Now, let's talk about that for a minute. Have any of you ever had an ear infection before? Ugh, they hurt. I promise you they hurt. When my boys were babies, they unfortunately got a lot of ear infections, and they would cry and cry and cry and cry because they hurt so bad. I have feathers all over them. Because their ears hurt. But another thing, when you get an ear infection, you might feel that you're really dizzy or that you're just off balance. And it is because that's a whole other thing. But when you have an ear infection, your equilibrium gets off balance. But your cerebellum controls that part of your brain, of your balance and your movement. Some of you feel like you're incredibly clumsy, and that's all part of your cerebellum in your brain. Because the cerebellum controls your sense of balance, you can move easily and gracefully instead of stumbling and staggering. The cerebellum coordinates your muscles so that you can do many activities, such as walking, eating, brushing your teeth, tying your shoes, without thinking about it. I mean, can you kneel down and tie your shoe without thinking about it? Sure, it's not something you say anymore, like, okay, make a rabbit ear, make another rabbit ear, make a cross and put it through the hole. No, your brain just helps you to do it. After a habit is formed, whenever you decide to perform that task, your cerebellum takes over and keeps you moving. Do you remember the first day you rode a bicycle? You had to, especially without training wheels, you had to think about how to keep your balance, how to pedal, and even how to hold the handlebars. You were nervous because your brain was thinking about all these different things and hoping that you wouldn't crash. Your cerebrum thought about every move, sent messages through your cerebellum, and as you successfully rode your bicycle, your cerebellum was trained to operate your muscles. Therefore, you started to stay upright on your bicycle and be able to keep it up. That's all because your cerebellum and your cerebrum were working together on that balance. It became a habit. Now your cerebrum tells your cerebellum that you want to ride your bike, and your cerebellum just does all the work in coordinating your muscles. If the cerebellum is damaged, even a simple thing like buttoning clothes becomes difficult. That's why your mom says, don't dive headfirst into a swimming pool. Don't jump off the top of the house. You know, all that kind of thing could damage that and cause many problems. I've heard boys in my own home say, I'm going to be fine, Mom, if I do this. And say, no, you might not be fine. Be careful. I'm sure your parents have said that to you as well. I want you to go ahead and read 101 on your own. And we are going over and doing the quick checkup today on 102. And those are all one answer, one word. Well, let's see. 4 and 5 are 2 words, but they're the same name. So I don't think you're going to have any difficulty with that. Go ahead and do that. Get it tucked in your folder for me. And we're going to move right into history today. History. We are on page 259 to 261. Yesterday you had a comp check to do. I hope you took your time on that and did your very best. 259. I'm going to read a little bit of this with you today. More on our presidents. I hope you enjoyed your president's song yesterday. I thought it was kind of fun. I really liked it because I looked up several songs on YouTube, and so many of the songs have not been updated to include Donald Trump. They need to get him updated on our YouTube songs. So that's one reason why I chose that one. A lot of them end, some of them end with Bill Clinton. They're so old, and then most of them end with Barack Obama. But the one that I chose did have Donald Trump. Advances for Freedom, Operation Desert Storm. Daniel did his research paper on this. The American people overwhelmingly elected Reagan's vice president, George H.W. Bush, to the presidency in 1988. President Bush promised to continue the job that Ronald Reagan had begun. So let's think about this. The Republicans were in office because, remember, Ronald Reagan was a Republican. Republicans were in office for 8 years because Ronald Reagan got voted in twice. So now his vice president became president. So that's 12 years of Republicans. So that's a great thing. Not that I'm trying to be political or anything. In August of 1990, Saddam Hussein, many of you have heard of him. I believe we've even talked about him in the past a little bit. The dictator of Iraq, remember, dictators take complete control of their country. They kill good and bad people. They are horrible, horrible people. They are much more controlling than a president. The people have no say-so when there is a dictator, and that's what Saddam Hussein was. He invaded the tiny oil-rich kingdom of Kuwait. Other Arab nations worried that they would be next. In addition, Israeli secret agents revealed that Saddam Hussein was very close to developing an atomic bomb. He was such an evil man that I guarantee you he would have used it if he was able to develop it. President Bush convinced the United Nations, or often we call them the UN, to send troops to liberate Kuwait and protect the other Arab nations. And the fighting begins. As in past actions of the United Nations, the United States provided most of the military muscle. By early 1991, 500,000 American troops were stationed in the Arabian Desert. Once President Bush had obtained the support of Congress, Operation Desert Storm, which was later called the Persian Gulf War, began. Start highlighting there. President Bush had obtained the support, and stop highlighting Persian Gulf War began. New technology enabled the Air Force to select and destroy military targets with little harm to the civilian populations of Iraq. There are some stealth fighters pictured down here. I think they are so amazing. Just they are so cool to look at. They have unbelievable capabilities. Wow, very cool. If you want to research something that's very neat about the Air Force, research stealth fighters. Also, next to that is a picture of General Norman Schwarzkopf. He was with some of our American ground troops, very important general in the Persian Gulf War. All right, next column. New technology enabled the Air Force to select and destroy military targets with little harm to the civilian population of Iraq. Saddam Hussein was unprepared to fight a high-tech war on such a large scale. He was ready to fight more on the ground with his troops that he had brainwashed into following him. The American military was more powerful than the Iraqi military because President Bush was now using the weapons that President Reagan had stockpiled. So, remember I told you that President Reagan wanted America to be a country that could take care of itself. Were we necessarily needing to go to war during that time? No, but President Reagan wanted us to be ready. So now it was time to go to war, and were we ready? Yes, we were. I keep losing my spot because I keep getting sidetracked. President Bush also insisted that the war in the Persian Gulf be directed by military men rather than politicians, which makes sense because that's what the military men are trained to do. He realized that soldiers, not politicians, knew how to fight and win a war. Highlight this next sentence. Bush placed General Colin Powell in command of Operation Desert Storm, another very famous person during this wartime. As chairman of the Joint Chief of Staff, Powell was second in military command only to the president. General Powell, the son of hardworking Jamaican immigrants, grew up in New York City's South Bronx and served in Vietnam, where he was wounded in action and received a Purple Heart. So did he have military experience? Yes, he did. He now became the spokesman for the military. Because Powell had to remain in Washington, D.C., highlight this, General Norman Schwarzkopf was appointed to lead troops into combat. General Schwarzkopf inspired great devotion and bravery in his men. They admired him, and that goes a long way when you are a leader. For the first time since World War II, the U.S. Congress followed the wise counsel of a military commander. Next two paragraphs. Invasion and victory. Let me double check our... Okay. Invasion and victory. On February 24th, 1991, American, British, and French ground troops, assisted primarily by the Saudi Arabians and Egyptians, invaded Iraq with armored tanks. The army of Iraq crumbled before General Schwarzkopf's brilliant military strategy, and thousands of Iraqi troops fled or threw down their weapons in mass surrender. Within a few days, Kuwait had been liberated, and Saddam Hussein had retreated to a bunker in Baghdad. A bunker is where he was hiding. Operation Desert Storm was a great triumph for American military and for the cause of freedom. The war only lasted 2.5 months. from January 16th to April 6th, 1991, making it the shortest war our nation had ever fought. However, it proved to only be the beginning of a long struggle against the tyrant Saddam Hussein. He did not die during that war. Even though they surrendered, he didn't necessarily surrender. He was bound and determined to continue fighting. And we're going to keep reading later and find out what happens to him. And I want you to do reading on your own to finish up in history today. So you're going to read 260, starting at the collapse of the Soviet Union, on over to that comp check 261. And you can stop reading there. You do not have to do your comp check today. So I'm going to end this history lesson today, and we're going to be talking more about the 20th century comes to a close tomorrow with President Bill Clinton, who also was a president who won two elections. So he served 8 years, 2 4-year terms is what I'm trying to get at. But I'm going to end this lesson with one of your favorite songs from 6th grade in history, and that is our state's song. So I love to hear it. It's just I just love the tune of the song, and I know you guys love it. Most of you know it by heart. So that's how I'm going to end our day. I hope you enjoy it, and I hope you have a very wacky Wednesday. Post your pictures of how you're dressed up, and I will see you tomorrow, and who knows what's going to be happening tomorrow. Have a good afternoon.
Somewhere, yeah, places I've never been, yeah. Going on a tour with I want to take a little trip somewhere, yeah. Places I've never been, yeah. Going on a tour. First I'm gonna see Nashville, Tennessee. Then Madison, Wisconsin is where I gotta be. Yeah, then I'll take a plane. Well, actually, I'm afraid to fly, so I think I'll take the train. Let's go. Going to Trenton, New Jersey, Frankfort, Kentucky. Maybe take a trip to Jackson, Mississippi. Let's see what they can show me. In Jefferson City, Missouri, Santa Fe, New Mexico, Denver, Colorado, Boise, Idaho. I love it every time that I go. In 1492, we sail the ocean blue, but next week I'll see Columbus in Ohio. Grab a little sunshine in Tallahassee, Florida. Take a bite of a beach in Atlanta, Georgia. I've never been to Carson City, in Nevada, or Lincoln, Nebraska. You can catch me in Phoenix, Arizona, or Sacramento, California, yeah. St. Paul, Minnesota, maybe Juneau, Alaska, yeah. I want to take a little trip somewhere, yeah. Places I've never been, yeah. Going on a tour with yeah. I want to take a little trip somewhere, yeah. Places I've never been, yeah. Going on a tour. Boston, Massachusetts, Concord, New Hampshire. Going to Vermont, Montpelier, Montgomery, Alabama, then Washington, D.C. This is the nation's capital. Aloha to Honolulu, Hawaii, Des Moines, Iowa, so peaceful to me. Going to Springfield, Illinois, from the little house on the prairie. In Little Rock, Arkansas, I love what I saw. Going back to Dover, Delaware, cause I'm a boy. Indianapolis, Indiana, and Hartford, Connecticut, need an encore. Smelling pine trees in Augusta, Maine. I like to peacock dances, I'm glad that I came, but I've never been to Salt Lake City, in Utah or Richmond, Virginia. Gonna see Bismarck, North Dakota, and Charleston, West Virginia, yeah. Annapolis, Maryland, maybe Lansing, Michigan, yeah. Helena, Montana, Columbia, South Carolina, gotta go to PM, South Dakota, yeah. Follow if you wanna. I'll be eating a banana in Baton Rouge, Louisiana. Schedule that on my planner. Friends say I gotta come sooner to Oklahoma City, Oklahoma. So I guess I'm gonna. But first I'm going to Cheyenne, Wyoming, and party in Raleigh, North Carolina. Yeah. Harrisburg, Pennsylvania. Can't think of a rhyme for Pennsylvania. So I'm skipping to Salem, Oregon, then Austin, Texas, and then maybe Albany, New York for breakfast. Providence, Rhode Island was a blast, and Olympia, Washington was just the bestest. I want to take a little trip somewhere, yeah. Places I've never been.